Hello, welcome to Sales for Strangers. Today we are going to discuss the best practices to be followed while writing Apex triggers. So I'm going to tell you five best practices. There can be more than that, but in this video we are only going to discuss these five best practices. So please watch this video till the end. Otherwise, you are gonna miss the some of the most important best practices here. So the number one is there should be only one trigger for one object. For example, on the contact object, you should not create multiple triggers or any other object. So let me write it here. One trigger for one object. The reason is, it's easy to manage one trigger instead of managing multiple triggers. So when you are inserting one contact record, there may be if there are multiple triggers on one object, then you will have to debug them one by one. So it's going to be complicated. That's why we should have only one trigger for one object. Now the second one is naming convention of trigger. We should not you know name our trigger other than this. For example, sometimes we write trigger name by the requirement name. So for example, I have some requirement to write a trigger on contact object, then I'm gonna name it in such a way that it matches my requirement. But no, since we are having only one trigger for one object, so the name of the trigger should be the object name plus trigger. That's it. So the naming convention. And while adding our triggers in the chain set, you will also be able to identify right away that on which object the trigger is selected in the chain set. Now the third one is handler class. We should write a trigger handler class. We should not write the complete logic in this trigger body, but we should create a handler class, and the naming convention should be like this. It can be changed. I mean, it's not a hard and fast rule, but yeah, you can follow this. And we can create a public static method here, my method, and this method can receive a list of contact or the list of object on which you are writing your trigger. We can name it anything, con list, and you can call this method from your trigger. So for example, I will pass contact trigger handler dot my method. I will pass trigger dot new. Now you must be wondering that what is the use of trigger if we are not allowed or if we are not supposed to write the trigger in the trigger itself, but we are writing the code in the handler class. Sometimes or in the complex situations, there are multiple scenarios we have to write in a single trigger, and the trigger becomes very bulky, and it's not readable, so easy to read, because you will have to scroll more and more if the trigger length becomes lengthy. So sometimes we have situations where we are writing event specific logic. So we have separate logic for insert block, and we have separate logic for update block. And to make it even more complicated, we have scenarios like after insert scenario is different, before insert scenario is different. So in such cases, we should define these is insert or is update or is after is before blocks separately, and write our logic. The main logic should be in the handler class, not in the trigger class. And that is the reason. Furthermore, you can create another helper classes for this handler class if you think that this handler class is becoming bulkier or very lengthy, which is again unable to read. You can create another class and just use your methods in that. So third one is the create handler class for your triggers. Now fourth best practice is no DML and SOQL inside for loops. This is very common and very important. because if we are doing DMLs or SOQL queries in our for loops, then we may hit the governor limits. We may exceed the governor limits. So the governor limits for DML is 150 in one context, and 100 SOQL queries are allowed in one context. So if you are inserting more than 100 or 150 records at a time, then there are many chances that you are going to hit your governor limits. That's why. And when governor limits are hit, you won't be able to, your trigger will not do anything. It will throw a runtime error. So in order to achieve this thing, this fourth best practice, we must use maps, or we can use for loop queries. Like for example, if my event is after insert, then I can do this. This is known as for loop query. It's more optimized than the normal query. So we can talk about it in other video. But we should not do something like this. For example, this is my for loop running on anything or trigger.new. I should not write a query inside the for loop. Otherwise, this query is going to be run as many times as your for loop, and there are many chances that you are going to hit your governor limit. So we should not do that, and we should not do a DML operation. So for example, I am doing a query on account inside this, then I should not write update ACC in the for loop. Rather, I should create a list. I should declare a list outside my for loop like this. This is just a hypothetical scenario. I'm just showing you that what not to do. So instead of updating the account inside the for loop, we should update this whole list, and we should add our account instances in this list inside the for loop like this. So that way we can avoid DML and SOQL inside the for loops. Now the last best practice we are going to talk about, it may not be considered as a best practice, but it will help you really in your real life situations. So the situation is that sometimes we deploy a trigger in production, and due to some error we need to roll back. Now in order to roll back that trigger, we need to mark it as inactive in the sandbox and then deploy it to production again. So to avoid this whole situation, changing in sandbox and then deploying back to production, we can do one thing. We can make use of custom labels. So go to setup, and in the quick find type custom label. Custom labels, create a new custom label, run contact trigger, or we can write it like this, activate contact trigger, and I am passing it true value. So this is a custom label, returns a string variable. It's not a boolean thing. So I'm gonna copy this label name here, and I will write an if block label dot custom label name equals to true. Now move the whole logic of your trigger, or the complete code of your trigger inside this if loop. So in production you can just change this value to anything, false or anything, but not true. Apart from true, you can put anything inside your custom label to deactivate this trigger directly in production. You won't have to make changes in sandbox and then deploy it to production. No. And anytime you can turn it on in the production. So the fifth one and the last one is the use custom label to activate or deactivate your trigger in production environment. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good day.